Excuse me, ma'am.
मैडम इधर सामने देखिए ना. या. मैडम लोग सेंटर. No, just. मैडम इधर सामने देख लीजिए. मैम लोग सेंटर में देखिए.
Center.
मैम रुकियो.
Ma'am, ma'am, center.
मैम
Ma'am, your right. Your right, please. Ma'am, यहाँ पे.
आइए मैम.
Ma'am, right, please.
थैंक यू मैम आपका.
Wait, ma'am.
पूजा जी चलो इधर
आगे नहीं जाना कोई भी.
एक मिनट.
One shot of right, please.
मैम इधर सामने देखिए इधर नहीं देखिए. सुहाना मैम इधर देखिए ना सामने. मैम.
Yeah, both of you center.
सुहाना जी यहाँ पे. मैम सेंटर. मैम इधर साथ में इधर देखिए ना इधर नहीं लोग सेंटर में. लोग सेंटर मैम.
Okay, thank you. Take a single.
गौरी मैम आइए आप भी आइए साथ में. एक गौरी मैम भी आए. एक सोलो कर लेते हैं.
Why not?
सुहाना जी यहाँ पे.
Right, please.
सुहाना जी सेंटर में देखिए. लोग सेंटर.
I'm on the right, please. I'm on the right.
मैम सामने सेंटर में. मैम इधर नहीं देखे इधर देखिए सामने. मैम लोग सेंटर. लोग सेंटर. आइए गौरी मैम आइए ना साथ में.
Gauri ma'am.
एक मिनट मैम रुकिए. गौरी जी एक फोटो खींचना आइए ना. आ जाओ मैम. आइए ना साथ में. आपके साइड आइए ना. आइए आपके साइड आइए ना. सुहाना जी. गौरी मैम यहाँ पर. मैम बोलो सेंटर.
I'm on the right, please.
मैम
On the right.
मैम लोग सेंटर. आइए साथ में आइए ना. ए रोहित जगह देना यार. सेंटर में आइए सेंटर. आइए सुहाना जी आइए ना. सुहाना जी आइए साथ में. ये गौरी मैम.
Yeah, both of you straight. One man straight. Yeah, straight.
मैम लोग सेंटर में देखें ना. बहुत भी लुक किया ना. मैम इधर सामने देखें ना. एक गौरी.
We were doing that in the class.
Good things come to those who wait.
True.
One big request from this audience today. I see a lot of warm, happy energy, a lot of cheese. I need everyone to throw all your love at us because we're here to celebrate Koel Purie and her amazing novel. Let's hear from Koel. And we have to give a big round of applause. That's okay, you must clap for yourself. You must clap for yourself. And a big warm welcome to Suhana. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm genuinely so excited that my first public conversation with Suhana is not set पे कौन सा prank इसने खेला यार, right? So we're gonna have an intelligent conversation and it's gonna be super fun and it's so nice to see the love in the room between two girls. And I can just tell you, you're gonna love this book because we have read it and devoured it and we have absolutely adored it. But first, I would like to invite the MD, the publisher, Kapish Mehra to come and say a few words. Can you come join us up here? Can we please get a round of applause? Sorry, Kapish, we don't have a seat for you, but we would love for you to come and say a few words.
Okay, first of all, we've done a lot of book launches and we've been fortunate enough to publish books which merit book launches. But I haven't seen in the last 17, 18 years of my career a book launch like this because, like Mali mentioned, the energy, the love, the warmth, it almost seems like the birthday party of the most popular girl from the class. So,
You're not wrong.
so Koel, I think that goes to say a lot about the support you get from your friends and family. Needless to say, it's been wonderful working with Koel. I didn't know her from Adam. It is somebody we both immensely are scared of, Kali, who introduced us. And thank you, Kali, for that lovely phone call on a Sunday afternoon, which is typical Kali, saying, how can you be sleeping? So, you know. And not only that, she did insist that Koel, all the way from Paris, should call me right in the afternoon on Sunday and says, "Meri baat ho gayi hai, now you speak to her." So that's Kali for you, and I'm just taking, because there's a few chances in life you get where you can take on both the sisters and in a public forum together. But having said that, ladies and gentlemen, I must admit, it is one of the nicest reads that I have come across in this space. It is not very easy to weave in multiple protagonists, and the way Koel's been able to do that seamlessly is really credit to her writing style, and I wish her all the very best. I'm not only sure that it will be a success tonight, but I'm very sure it will be a success even for many weeks to come after this. So all the very best. It won't be invisible anymore.
Yes. Thank you so much. All right. Now we're going to have a conversation about this book, and we're going to try not to leave you out of the multiple conversations we've had discussing the characters because we're so deeply invested in them. But I promise you, when you buy and read this book, you will need to. And I have to tell you, people have had such amazing things to say about your book, Koel. And I think it's so aptly described by Shobha Day as an outsider-insider novel, a must-read by Rukh, a remarkable debut. And I personally am really thrilled to be part of it because in a while I'll tell you how I first met Koel, which is also quite an accidental friendship. She doesn't even remember this story, by the way. It's really kind of amazing. All right. But first of all, I would really love to welcome you all and thank you so much for being here. It means the world. It is so hard to write a book and pour it out on the pages so you can no longer go back and edit and change what you wrote like you can on social media. When it's out there, it's a print and it's a labor of love. So please, one more round of applause for Koel for this fantastic, beautiful, amazing. All right, so let's begin with Suhana. Thank you so much for doing this today. It's the first time you're having a conversation like this, and I know we're all kind of jittery, so we're smiling extra. Please, so just throw us some love. But I'd love to know what made you want to be here today, and what makes you want to talk about this book.
Firstly, thank you so much for hosting this conversation and moderating it. And thank you, Koel, for having me here and choosing me to launch your book. I think what I loved about this book was that the writing, the way that you've written this book, it's so accessible, yet it's full of contradictions. And even the characters, they're so flawed and so real, but relatable at the same time. But what I think I loved the most and what resonated with me the most was that at the heart of it, this book is about friendships. And I find myself quite lucky to have a set of friends that hold up a mirror to my imperfections. Some of them are sitting in the audience, which I was quite pleasant.
An applause for friends! Yes!
Yeah, I'm really so happy. But yeah, and also friends that hold my hand during the tough times as well as the good times. And what I find beautiful about friendships is that friendships defy logic. They can come from anywhere. Koel and I are friends. We're not from the same generation. Sorry. Ignore that one. Okay, we're not from the same city. But we're still friends. I don't know how, but we're still friends. And yeah, that's why I'm so thrilled to be here and doing this with you.
I love it. Absolutely amazing. So, Koel, just before we get into the meat of it, right? Let's tell everyone, what is this book about? Clearly Invisible in Paris. What is this book about? Who is it about? Why did you write it?
Yeah, okay. So three of us have been so involved in digging deep and like analyzing and breaking down all this text and really being self-indulgent like that.
Please show them how many notes there are in your book.
Yeah, not good. So, but I just want to simplify it and not ruin any spoilers. So just that when we get into the depth of the conversation, you can actually follow. So it's called Clearly Invisible in Paris. And no, it's not a memoir because I'm not invisible ever anyway. Okay? So, although this is the point, I have lived in Bombay, Delhi, London, Tokyo. When I moved to Paris, I felt completely alienated. Like I was like, okay, it's just a question of language. I come from Delhi, the Delhi snobs. I know how to deal with Paris, no issue. And it's just a matter of time, I will get in. I continuously till date feel like an outsider. It is the most alienating city. It is a city of polarity, which is why I also love it as a writer. It is at one end, the most egalitarian society, and yet the most divided city. We see that in the riots, we see that everywhere. It is the city of love, and yet it is the coldest city. Anyone who's been a tourist in Paris knows that. It is a city where it talks about, we're so liberal, we're so inclusive, and yet it's a city that's so insular. Paris is the greatest, we are the greatest, no one else. I don't want this to become a Paris bashing session.
We have a French man here.
Yeah. My husband.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Thank you, Laurent, for taking me to Paris, which made me write this story, because it's also a city that I love. Every time I'm dejected by my life, I look around at the cityscape, there is no city like Paris. And so therefore the desire to want to fit in. And it wasn't just me, everyone that I was meeting around me had a similar story to tell, like amazing, fabulous women, men, who were all just trying to fit in. We were outsiders. And you don't normally think of immigrants as people like me, you just don't. You think of them as people standing in a line and refugees or poorer or different, different socioeconomic background, but I'm an immigrant. I am very much an immigrant and I'm made to feel like that in this city. And I developed these amazing friendships. And somewhere I have this knack of maybe attracting stories. People come and tell me things they really shouldn't, like there's a lot of oversharing that happens. But there is, what can I say, strangers, friends, all kinds of things. And it all fed into me, and then one day I was writing this story about odd friendships that see you through. And at the end of, I don't want to ruin anything more, I'll tell you a little bit about the characters. It says Clearly Invisible in Paris, and there's a big point in it that, who gets to be Parisian, who doesn't. And I have to say, I'm very happy to be, finally, after all this trying to be, very happy to be an Indian in Paris. Right? That is something that I have finally owned and gone, I am Indian in Paris, I don't want to be in Parisian. So this story is about four very disparate women. One of them is Meera, who is an Indian socialite who moves to Paris because she gets married to an aging French movie director producer. But she can't adjust to her life because she has so many issues of her own, which when you read about, you're like, what is your problem in life? And that's the problem. She has nothing to complain about and everything to complain about. The next character is Roselle, who is a Filipina housemaid who escapes the clutches of her Kuwaiti employer, who's basically thought that being an all-rounder means being a slave. And then you have Dasha, who's a barely 17-year-old Russian who's Insta-scouted from a tiny little village in Russia, who comes to Paris to want to be a supermodel. And you have Violet, who is this burlesque dancer from Senegal. She's a transgender woman. She is fabulous in every way when she is broke. All four of these women live in the same Haussmann building. Now, for those of you who don't know Paris has these stunning, Haussmann buildings, and they live in different circumstances. So Roselle lives in this tiny 6x6, room in the roof, which you have to access with a spiral staircase at the back of the house. Meera, the Indian socialite, lives in a duplex in the middle with, double floors done by Philip Starr. Dasha lives in a room full of bunk beds with other models who are trying to make it. And Violet lives in the ground floor next to the lift. They don't know each other, they don't want to know each other, they can't stand each other, there's nothing in common. Except they're all foreign. And then the world comes to a standstill. When you read the book, you'll understand why. And when that happens, it's me, you know, in that sense, but it's completely fictionalized, and there will be conversations that we will have about these characters.
Absolutely.
But this kind of lays the lay of the land.
Tell the names again. There's Neera.
There's Neera the Indian, there's Dasha the Russian wannabe model, there's Violet, who is the burlesque dancer, and there is Roselle. Meet little Roselle.
Amazing. So one of the things I loved in all our conversations, and honestly it was such a delight to hear because we have all these multiple email chains, was that when Suhana was doing the notes, because she's like a reader herself and really deeply invested into it, taught you insights about your writing that you didn't know, and that's literally the highest compliment all the writers here would know, is when someone points out something that you didn't do on purpose, maybe, or didn't realize you did. So I'd love to know what was like your favorite part of the book, what are some of the things that really stood out to you, where you're like, and that's the meat of it, you know, there's always a great story, but when you find something that you're like, oh wow, did I find that? And I think you did, Rukh.
I mean, I don't know if this was intentional, and I don't want to like give away any spoilers or anything, because there was so much that I loved about the book. But I think in terms of your writing, I just love the way you use juxtaposition throughout the book, and like right from the get-go, the title of the book is clearly invisible in Paris, and the clear and invisible, those antithetical terms, you know, they just kind of lay the, you know, they kind of just lay the narrative out there for the reader already from the beginning, because you know that this book, it kind of highlights the contradictory nature of the book. And I think that was my favorite part of the book was this paragraph that you wrote about duality. I can.
Let's do it. Yes.
Okay, I have it.
I don't expect you to remember it.
Please,
I actually do.
I'm really good at like
Okay,
memorizing
come on, let's do
quotes
it.
and
I
stuff.
want to remember it.
So I mean, I can read it, but
You don't give a shit for this for memorizing your book.
I mean, you talk about, this is a quote from the book,
Yeah.
the inseparability of contradiction, and how basically light doesn't exist without darkness, or there's no winter without summer. You can't feel happiness without having felt sadness, and essentially just stating that there is no good without the bad. So I think that was a very hopeful paragraph, because it just kind of shows that there's a balance in the world. But then more than anything, I found that it ties in with all the characters of the book and how they are so different and how they are such opposites of one another. They're all foils of one another, the four main characters, Violet, Dasha, Neera and Roselle, just reiterating it for everyone. But they're so opposite and they're so different, and I somewhere like to believe that that's what attracted them to one another. I like the whole idea of opposites attracting and opposites complementing each other. Like, you know, in real life you see two, like a couple, and they're so different but they go so well together. And yeah, that we kind of seek things in other people that we don't find in ourselves. So I love that. I love that you complete me kind of a thing.
This part that you talk about, the contradiction, inseparability of contradiction, it is actually in reference to Dasha, the younger girl, whatever happens, starts looking up to Violet as this character that, you know, can be a mama, me, or whatever. And she thinks, when I grow up, I want to be Violet. And one day, this is not a spoiler, one day she happens to be in her little apartment, which is of all things sparkly. And she opens, you know, she doesn't have anything to do, so she opens the cupboards. And it's full of gender transforming pills and hormones and all the things that go into making Violet, right? And so Dasha is like, no, I love the fact that she's male and female energy, and that matches, and this is the biggest power that the universe can have. But she can't get her head around the fact that she's actually a creation of something, that she's not the body that she wanted to be, and there is this contradiction of it. And it's a really dark point, but I'm glad you got hope out of it.
Yeah,
you know?
Because that's what makes Violet so beautiful, that she's this contradiction, that she's male and female, I guess.
Right? And this is exactly what we were talking about, Suhana, that when we spoke the first time, like, and this is true, Rajat, you know that, like, when you make anything, whether it's a painting, a film, a book, or anything, you kind of do what you can, you finish it, you seal it, but till the audience or the receiver or the viewer interprets it, views it, it's not complete, and that is always so subjective. There are things they see in it that you didn't even intend. And for me, that has been, I can't tell you the early readers who have read the book and the things they've come up with, and they were like this, and I was like, I wrote that, like I didn't mean it like that, but yeah, okay, that's fabulous. So, yeah, I can't wait for all of you to read
Oh,
the
it's
book.
amazing. But now it's time for me to tell you the story. And I don't know if you remember this, but in 1995, yes, I'm dating myself now, I was hired to be a choreographer for a very wealthy birthday party in South Delhi. And I don't even remember the guy's name, but he was going to pay me 10,000 rupees to teach people dances at this party. And I taught them the paper dance, 3 steps of salsa, and they're all like very rich people. And I used to do all my shopping at Sarojini Nagar at this stadium. 17, yeah? So suddenly, in a whirlwind, in sort of like hurricanes in Koel, gorgeous, stunning with this sexy crop top, tied up.
I was 17, I was not,
I was
just
17, maybe
okay.
you were not, maybe you were both part.
Oh, I was thinking I'm older than everyone taking me older.
Let me tell my story. It's a comedy. Let's see how it goes. So she rushes in, and I've never seen like a creature so magnificent, and so like, and she's bought this tiny painting as a gift for this guy, which must be worth like a lot more money than I've ever seen in my life. And it comes at, yeah, because I was Sarojini Nagar at this point. No, and then she comes in and she's doing it. They're all tequila shots on the floor, and I'm like, God, I've only seen this in the movies. And I just assumed that there would be no relatability, and they're going to look through me because I am the hired choreographer for the day. But Koel came up to me, and she tapped me, and she said, hey, want some cake? I was like, what? She goes, it's a birthday, you want some cake? She went to the kitchen and got me a piece of cake and a fork, and she said, eat it. I was like, this is amazing, like she knows I exist, and you don't remember the story, and we met so many that, I told you this when I met you a so later. That's what I love about this accidental nature of people that you wouldn't expect, and even in the book, the 4 characters are in this building, day in, day out, sort of walk past each other because we kind of choose to see through people, or people see through us, maybe not even on purpose, or we assume that this person is going to be better than me and I'm not even going to engage. But I love that, and you were that character for me in real life, to be honest. So I have to ask, and since she set the tone of not the same generation, let's say not the same city, how did you guys become friends? I know you work together, but again, it's a very beautiful, unexpected, accidental friendship, right?
There is a line in my book, and this is genuinely, it applies to you. There is a line where one of the characters says, finally discovers there is a difference between confidence and self-acceptance, right? And when we're younger, that difference is very, it's blurred, because you're confident and you accept yourself and stuff. And the first time I saw Suhana walk in on the set, maybe she was nervous, I don't know, it was very early days and stuff, but that line didn't exist, and as I'm getting older, I have that line very clear, I am very confident. Do I accept myself? Well, I don't know, so not the characters are like that. When I saw Suhana, she was very clearly confident and, full of self-acceptance. So for me, it was almost instant, like, I'm going to be your friend. There you are.
She's like, let me tell you my story.
When I first met Koel, I was like, she scares me. I was like, she
Raise your hand if Koel's
I was terrified of Koel. She was like, no one I've ever met before. And I was like, I don't know how to respond to her. I was like, she's gonna eat me alive. I swear that's my first impression of you. And as we got to know each other and as I spent more time with you, I feel like she brought out this really sassy side to me that not a lot of people get to see, and I really enjoyed that. And also I learned that she's into plays and writing plays, and in our breaks, like literally on set, she'd be writing a play and making her own stuff, and I thought that was so inspiring. I'm complimenting you now because I called you scary earlier.
Please note that. Because I'm so terrified. I love it.
No, I'm not.
No, she's scary. I'm amazing that she has no.
Yeah, well, you're terrifying. I just want to in a good way, though.
This is actually an intervention. The book is just a good. Joking, obviously.
Yeah. But it was literally talking about, people wouldn't expect you to feel like an immigrant or feel like an outsider. But when I saw you, it was like you just exuded this self-confidence and you were just powerful.
Difference between self-confidence and self-acceptance, right? So there is a difference. And because I don't want to be bashed anymore, I'm going to be beautiful. Can I? You can.
Read my mind. I was about to say, I think it's time to hear some of the sassy, savagery, sexiness that she's poured into this book.
But I'm not sure it's because, you know, what do you read? Like, how do you read something without anyone having read the book and all that? So I don't want to ruin a lot of things. But I like this bit only because it plays into this idea of invisibility and visibility, which is a big deal, you know, because when I was like a 17-year-old moving to UK for the first time to study, yes, I was a popular, confident child and kid, and I went there, and I was like, what is wrong with me? No one is looking at me, like, what's going on? And then I realized that in India, we're so used to everyone always looking at everyone all the time that when someone is just minding their business, you think you're invisible. I was like, okay, this is not, you know. So this kind of feeds into this. Of course, I don't have my glasses because I'm too plain, so we will try. So this is Neera. I'm not going to tell you anything more, but she's got a secret and she's trying basically to get back into her apartment, into her building. She has to cross the street with this secret to get back in there. And she's feeling rather visible. She always wants to be visible, but this is the one moment she wishes that she was invisible, right? So this is where she is. This was her neighborhood. They were all there. The boulanger with his big bay window, flaunting his assortment of artisanal viennoiserie, and his contempt for those who ordered the wrong pastry at the wrong time of the day. By the way, this has happened to me all the time. Order a croissant in anything but the morning and you've had it, right? The dry cleaner who made it clear that she preferred chatting with her gang of delivery boys than attending to dirty clothes. And the Tunisian guy from the overpriced fruit shop. All of them insisted on greeting her every time she passed. This peculiarity of Paris, constantly saying hello and goodbye to everyone, only to render them invisible straight after, had always maddened her. What purpose did politesse serve when you had no intention of actually acknowledging a person or their needs? In Mumbai, you never bothered with salutations. You just cut to the chase. And no matter how hard you tried, you could never be invisible. There was always eyes on you. And there was always someone more than ready to dive into your life and impose their assistance. Though she was nothing more than a bonjour to these vendors on most days, today she was sure that they would notice her and her secret. Lovely.
No, I have to read a paragraph that I loved. I was literally telling Meghna was a fellow author in the room today. I was reading out from my phone notes of things that I loved about the book. And here's a paragraph that is so me and so Gen Z, even though I'm a very different generation.
Give a context.
Okay, I'll give you a context. I'm reading a context of Dasha, who is the stunning 17, 18-year-old Russian model who's just had the most magnificent evening because she's had the time of her life and she's finally sort of made it. And she's on the other side of the door of Violet. And she feels that, oh, you know, we're going to have this amazing evening tonight because of everything that's happened, but doesn't realize that Violet has gone through her own crisis and just assumes that Violet is mad at her about something. And I'll tell you after this why this is, and Karishma's laughing there because this is overthinking. You must hate me, you only said okay with the full stop. Okay. Slumped on the floor like a disowned dog, Dasha leaned her head against Violet's door. She couldn't understand why the door and the life that lay on the other side of it had shut her out. Instead of celebrating the success of the show together, Dasha felt she was being punished for a crime she was yet to discover she had committed. It was the affliction of adolescence that made it inconceivable to her that she wasn't somehow at the center, or for that matter, the cause of this unfolding drama. Not yet 18 and her life was already repeating itself. Why did the adults she loved the most abandon her? And this hit me straight through the heart because I'm clearly not adulting well. Because as soon as something happens to someone else, I just assume I must have done something. So I'm pretending to be main character energy when I'm really not. I kind of literally love, what I love also about this book, it's not a spoiler, but you love this. You're not, and don't let it bother you. You're never going to know who the main character is.
because all of us are the main characters in our own story and supporting cast each other. And I love that. Through the whole book, you're like, oh, maybe it's about this person, maybe it's about this person, but it's actually about all of them from now.
See, this is the part as a writer I didn't think, right? Like, it's like,
You didn't do it on purpose?
no, I mean, I was just like, whatever. But just can I jump in?
Yes.
Because you said Dasha, this gorgeous, wonderful model. I just found a bit where it actually describes her physical appearance, and it's a bit like, anyway, so she's gone for her first lineup of fashion show casting. And as an actor, when you go for casting, it's very different, you know. You go for casting, it's different. Like, yes, you have people who look like you, but then you still get to do your piece. You still get those 5 minutes. You still get the person's attention. When you're a model, you literally go next, like it's like that, right? So this is her. She's going from one casting to another. She's standing in front of these guys, and it's this tiny little passage which describes her. It's the kind of ugly that works these days, the stylist pleaded with the Lebanese designer. Neither lowered their voice nor took their eyes off Dasha, who was holding a headshot. Why can't I read this? Who was holding a headshot in her hand like a prison lineup and standing in front of them as still as a statue in her heels. Adresse Angelina, Nicole, Penelope, Marion. My dresses are for princesses. Can we just have an old-fashioned beauty, please? Khalil said in his heavily accented English. This is not the time to reinvent a brand. We need to remind my clients how gorgeous they feel in my clothes. I want them to feel them out, get them out of their tracksuit bottoms and wrap them in embroidered magique. And I cannot do that if they think they are going to look like E.T. in a dress. Dasha had been called E.T. before, but had never actually seen the film till a few weeks ago. It was an American kids' classic from her parents' communist childhood, and thanks to the ban on Hollywood films, her parents could lip-sync all of Raj Kapoor's Hindi songs, but had no idea who Clint Eastwood or Harrison Ford were. During confinement, she and Astrid had cozied up on her single bed, an iPad strategically placed on a pillow, and bawled their eyes out as Elliot tried to revive the tea. Dasha had loved the film, and not just because her head would have been resting against Astrid's ample breasts, and Astrid's pudgy fingers had been twisting their way through her hair. In fact, she had watched it a few times on her own after that. The film was proof that love could transcend the boundaries of country, color, culture, shape, planetary origin, and maybe even gender. She couldn't quite see the resemblance, but anyway, she had no objection to being called a lovable alien if she got the job. I think she's got something, but you're the boss, Callie, the stylist said, and seeing the look on her boss's face, called out, "Next!"
Amazing. So I love that there's so many notes in yours, and I would love to know one of your favorite bits, and if you would love to do a reading for us. It's so interesting also, as I'm hearing you and the characters are coming to life so beautifully, we all read books in our own voices, right? And it's so interesting how you picture, that's why the movie's never as good as the book. Because your imagination is that theater of the mind. So I would love to hear one of your favorites.
I think my favorite part of the book is, I think it's between Neera and Violet. And Neera they're talking about home and how they don't belong in Paris and how they don't even feel they don't even feel like they belong in their own home, wherever they come from. And I think Violet says something like, home is nothing but two arms holding you tight when you are at your worst. And I think that was such a true statement, because I've studied in the UK and New York as well, and I feel like it wasn't the place, it was more the people that kind of made it home, and the friendships that I made.
You had your own immigrant story about this as well, right?
I wouldn't say I was really an immigrant at all.
Outside the story.
I was in boarding school, and I went when I was 15 years old. I left home when I was 15. So I think that was very scary, because it was definitely a culture shock. And I think it took me a while to feel at home. And when I did, it was because of the people there, and how their friendship and their love made me feel seen when I kind of felt invisible.
Who's gonna cry for sure? I am doing
So yeah, I really resonated with when Violet said that about home feeling like a person more than.
I love that. You know, one of the things I'd love to know now that we always talk about how these moments change us, you know, somebody's a stranger your whole life and then they become your whole world. So why don't we, just so we acclimatize everyone without any spoilers, tell everyone how these four wonderful women met. Oh, really? You could leave them on a cliffhanger. I mean, read that bit or tell them. Decide. You wrote the book. Okay. How did they meet? No, but let them read the book about this. Okay, I think that's better if they read the book about how they met. Yeah. Okay. Go on.
I think, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, just scrap everything that I said. Just
Okay.
There's another line where this is the moment that they met, not to spoil it. But there's a line that you write that says, biryani brought them together, or biryani brings people together. And that's how that was their kind of first meeting, like their first meal together was Neera cooked them some biryani and they all were kind of eating biryani together. And when you wrote that, I got so excited because it's my favorite food, and like I need that line on a t-shirt because I was so
Merch is ready. Who wants a t-shirt that says bring biryani brought us together? I'm in for that. Biryani brings people together.
That was
You're
my
right.
favorite part.
Oh yeah, that is, I have to say I love writing that part because there's a flood that happens, it's all happening in the same building, no one is there except these four women, they don't know that they kind of exist even. Everyone's busy, I don't want to ruin anything for you about that, but they're all busy. Neera is a bitch, I mean she's really awful, right, to everyone and everything, but she's alone. And for whatever reasons, and then because these women are helping her with the flood, she's like, I made biryani, and that's not a dish you eat alone. You know, I mean, it's literally like that. And then eventually when you sit and you eat, they become buddies.
That's amazing. You know, one of the things I've always marveled at and what makes this book uniquely you is that it's also set in Paris, right? Because I know writing fiction is always so complicated, but since you lived there for so long, it's so much a part of you. And when we think of Paris, we think of people French kissing in front of the Eiffel Tower, probably they just call it kissing there, maybe. But basically, you know, like, you have this whole romantic vision of it. But the way that you write about it sometimes, I'm like, you seem to have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with it. You know a lot about the art, history, and culture. There's a little bit of the dark underbelly. So let's be honest, Koel, how do you really feel about Paris? Should we move?
I don't want to move back. I'm clear about that, okay? So I'm very happy in Paris. Well, happy like, happy is a whole other thing. But Paris, like I said right in the beginning, Paris is a city of polarity, you know, and it's so stunning. It really is. So go visit. Perhaps don't move.
Can I tell everyone? Koel is also a rapper now.
Oh dear. Okay. Shall we end on that? I think so.
Koel, I'm not kidding. You don't believe me, I promise you. She has written a rap about Paris. Who wants to hear it? Should we hear this?
But I can't rap, so someone else, just forgive me, I'm going to do it as spoken word. But this, just to give you a little bit of context, and this actually, again, Suhana brought up, and I was like, I never thought of that. And so, one of the characters, in fact, again, one of the characters you don't think is the main character, perhaps, but one of the characters, Rizal, who finally gets to belong, has to really give a pound of flesh, you know, literally has to give a pound of flesh. She goes through just a horrific situation before she gets to be Parisian, and eventually she does. And she's a character who is the housekeeper, etc. Really kind of meek, but she's Filipino, but she has a voice that can bring angels to earth. You know, when she sings, like the biryani, it unites people, it touches people's hearts. So to express the pain that she's feeling with whatever has gone down, she doesn't know she's going to get to. Oh, I just ruined it. She didn't know at that point that she's going to get to belong, but whatever. Delete it. You don't know that. But she's gone through a really hard time, act of violence, etc. And to express her pain, she sings about it, and the kids that she looks after help her write this song. And so I'm just going to do a bit of this. Imagine it like Rihanna with Eminem, that kind of thing is happening, right? That's what I'm looking for. So any musicians out there, please come to me afterwards, okay? You cut my face and loosen my tongue. You dug my skin, but I'm not done. What you want, I won't be. What you see is not me. I won't shed skin just to fit in. Neera marveled at the lyrics. How hurt do you have to be to come up with something this deep? Roselle's voice sang on. You call me a disease from overseas. A problem in the world? No, just another broken girl. Living in exile because society is hostile. There's no place I call home. A victim on the road, wherever I may roam. The kids joined in, harmonizing. All the days of karaoke and singing on the way back from school were put to good use. They reached the high notes with an innocent ease that bypassed the listener's brain and went straight to their hearts. In unison, they sang, why, I, erase a future, try, I, to be a teacher. You'll see, there's no stopping me. The song hit a crescendo and they took a dramatic pause that made you hold your breath in anticipation. Roselle's voice broke the silence with the chorus. You see not me, what you see is what you see. The reflection in your eyes is all but lies. Je suis me, je suis nobody but me, je suis me, je suis nobody but me. Neera, who had never heard Roselle sing before, felt like she was slowly sliding into a room-like cave that left her feeling like the happy child she had never once been.
Woo! I'm happy that was a song. I think we've gone a little over more than we wanted. We can go on and on. Trust me, we can. I have many more notes.
Thank you for your patience. This has been incredible, and Koel, you are such an enigma. It has been a delight to read this. Suhana, it was so exciting. It has been so wonderful speaking with you. I'm going to encourage everyone to buy not one, but 4 copies of this book. 1 for yourself, and 3 for those friends who make you feel visible when you're invisible. And if you're lucky, a copy will make itself back to you. That means you're one of those people too. But that rhymes, so it's true. Yes. All right, a vote of thanks.
Yes, I'd like to thank, obviously, these 2 wonderful women out here, Miss Malini, although I always call you Miss Malini. Miss Malini, always Miss Malini. Malini, thank you. Thank you for, before we started today, I was like, oh really, where do I need to sit? I suddenly went into panic mode. I had done this hundreds of times, but when you're doing it for yourself, I'm like in panic, and she's like, I got you, babe, I got you. And this is friendship, right? And Suhana, who has come out of, just stepped out of her comfort zone to be here with me, and you look so comfortable. Right, thank you. Thank you, Suhana, it means the world. And we did, I wrote in her book, can I share that? Yeah. I wrote in a book that we are now tied by destiny because she's helping me launch my debut novel. And she did her first ever shot on film with me. So we are tied by destiny. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. A.D. Singh, where are you? For letting me own your restaurant for as many years as I have known you. I used to live opposite and I used to order room service from here. I used to literally go a cappuccino, Pedro, please. And A.D. has never said no to me. So thank you, team. As I say, we have over-invited and they've squeezed everyone in. And thank you all of you who over-invited who have made it and supported me. Thank you so much. Thank you, media, for being here. Thank you, Rupa. Thank you, Olive and team. Did I lose anyone? And thank you. I just want to say little thank you to my family, and especially to Laura, who's been following me around this book promotions are not glamorous. Not as glamorous as movie promotions.
C'est French.
C'est pas glamour. I love you. I don't know more. See in French, I love you. No.
On her social media, she's like, when people speak to her in French, or when she speaks to them in English, they pretend not to understand, she breaks into Hindi and then they speak English real fast.
Yeah. So thank you, Laurent. Thank you, everyone. Buy a book.
Buy 4.
Buy 4. Thank you, guys. Please stay, enjoy drinks, enjoy snacks, and follow Lady. Oh, sorry. And thank you, Monica Alcohol Brand, for doing the alcohol for us. So enjoy the alcohol. our sponsors and AD and have fun with me. Trying to stand up for
I'm happy.
Let's see how the background is looking. Show me on.
देखिए सामने सभी सर यहाँ देखिए सर मैम यहाँ पर देखिए सर इधर नहीं देखिए सामने आइए एडी सर आइए आइए एडी सर बड़ा है आइए अरे अंकल पीछे आइए ना अंकल अरे प्लान नीचे करो अंकल अरे कैसे करेगा भाई सेंटर अरे टोपी रात कॉर्नर ना हो यो थैंक यू या ऐसे लेंगे किसका क्या लेंगे इडी सर एक दोनों अपनी सर इधर देखिए ना इडी सर यहाँ पर देखिए
Ready sir? Sir यहाँ पे.
सर इधर
Sir यहाँ पर देखिए. Excuse me sir.
हाँ डन सर डन कबीर सर सामने देखिए लोग सेंटर में देखिए हल नीचे सामने
Last corner now.
Wait, let's start from here. Let's start from here too.
हाँ अभी सामने देखिए सेंटर में थैंक यू
Excuse me. Yeah. थोड़ा पीछे आना यार.
थोड़ा पीछे
Good. Yeah, please. Good.
मैम look center here. मैम उधर पे look here. मैम थोड़ा बुक दिखाई ना.
Tara ma'am.
सर सामने.
Sir ma'am.
सेंटर में लेकिन सर सेंटर में.
Tara ma'am, go to
राइट में देख
Sir ma'am. Karo ji.
राइट में देखिए
उधर पे look here.
1 second. Sorry. Center. Excuse me. Ma'am, here ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Tara here.
सर इधर सेंटर में देखिए. सर यहाँ सामने देखिए.
Right में sir.
सर यहाँ पे सर. सर यहाँ सर.
Ranveer sir. Yeah, hold on.
सर look center.
Ranveer. Hold on, यहाँ पे. Chin down side.
सर यहाँ.
Ranveer sir, yes.
थैंक यू. आइए.
Sir, yes.
अच्छा उधर कर लो.
Sir, yes, straight please.
या.
Yes sir, hold it.
सर अभी बस सर अभी सामने देखिए. सर सामने लुक सेंटर सर. थैंक यू. हाँ. क्या लुक किया? अभी लुक सेंटर में देखिए. थैंक यू.
ये फोटो लो यार.
इधर देखिए ना सामने. लुक सेंटर में. सेंटर. मैम सेंटर में देखिए. थैंक यू. राहुल सर इधर से राहुल सर इधर देखिए ना. हाँ. सर यहाँ पे. सर इधर देखिए. इधर सामने देखिए. मैम लोग सेंटर में देखिए ना. मैम राइट कौन है ये? मैम लोग सेंटर. मैम इधर सामने. मैम ये. थैंक यू.